Rome had been ruled by one great dynasty since 31 BC, when Augustus became its first emperor.
Are we not still standing?
Marking the arrival of the Julio-Claudians. But the excesses of the dynasty's fifth emperor, Nero, brought the empire into disrepute.
What an end is this for an emperor of Rome?
When he died in 68 AD, the Julio-Claudians died with him, leaving the empire in chaos. The civil war that followed left thousands dead. Out of the carnage emerged this man, the Emperor Vespasian. Now, he was determined to nourish the security of the Flavian dynasty. His bloodline and that of his two sons, Titus and Domitian, and at the same time to win over the hearts of the people of Rome. Where I'm walking now was once actually a massive lake that stood right at the heart of a ridiculously excessive palace and garden complex built on the orders of the Emperor Nero. Now, it is no coincidence whatsoever that this was the spot chosen by the Emperor Vespasian to construct his grand new amphitheatre.
Vespasian wants to really contrast his reign with that of Nero. Nero had built himself a huge private pleasure palace right in the heart of the city, and it's really unpopular. What Vespasian is doing is saying, here I am, I'm building a huge pleasure palace for the people where once had stood a lake that had only been for an emperor's enjoyment.
The building would eventually become known as the Colosseum, after the Colossus, a massive statue of Nero that once stood nearby. Just 2 months into Titus's reign, Mount Vesuvius erupted, obliterating the towns of Pompeii and Herculaneum. A year later, a 3-day fire ravaged Rome, followed by a plague. These disasters were a very inauspicious start. Titus had a golden opportunity to show a nervous public he was worthy of the title Caesar, and the construction of the Flavian Amphitheatre was finally completed. He announced a mind-boggling 100 days of games, with free entry to those lucky enough to get a ticket. This first event of the day was the venationes, the slaughter of wild beasts, a popular Roman tradition. The animal hunts that took place in amphitheatres and stadiums right across the Roman Empire were a reminder to the local population that the Romans ruled the world with absolute ferocity. And the beast hunts back at Rome were a way of bringing the exoticism of the empire to Rome's home turf. It's the Romans saying, with might and muscle, we have conquered the known world full of wild and wonderful things. Let's bathe in our own glory. This inscribed stone was originally mounted on the outside of the Colosseum, and the letters that you can see tell us that these were carved in 400 years or so after the building was finished. They read that a senator called Lampadius gave money to the Colosseum once it had become run down in order for it to be restored. But then archaeologists spotted all these little holes and realised that these were where brass letters were originally fixed to the stone. And if you join the dots together, this is what they say. The Emperor Caesar Vespasian Augustus built this new amphitheatre with the spoils of war. The Romans were blatantly advertising the fact the Colosseum had been built with foreign plunder, dirty money. Just a stone's throw from the Colosseum is this spectacular victory arch, the Arch of Titus. When Vespasian became emperor, his son Titus was in Judea, crushing a Jewish revolt with absolute ferocity and laying siege to Jerusalem. The sack of Jerusalem has gone down in history as one of the horror stories of humanity, both for the scale of the slaughter and the destruction of the sacred temple. There's Titus being crowned by the goddess of victory, and over here is his train, fat with loot, including the treasured menorah, a sacred candelabrum with 7 arms that was said to have been carried by Moses from Egypt to end up in its resting place in the temple at Jerusalem. The Arch of Titus tells us something unsettling about the Roman psyche. That the Flavians were thrilled by the fact that they could use the proceeds of a Jewish bloodbath to fund the building of a giant stadium. For the Romans, theirs was the only civilization that mattered.
Gladiators! At last.
The poet Martial writes that Verus and Priscus were evenly matched, and that both fought with equal determination. Neither of them would show the sign of surrender, the raising of a single finger.
Why doesn't one of them just yield?
Because to yield is to die, idiot. Gladiators, you fought bravely and well. By decree, one of you should go free, and one of you should die. But I have noted your courage and your commitment, and decided to present you both with these wooden staffs. Both shall go free! Both shall go free! Shall go free!
We know that Titus's act of mercy caused a sensation. The Roman poet Martial, who was an eyewitness to the games, wrote this in celebration. "This has happened under no glorious leader but you, Caesar. 2 fought and both won." Now, I'm sure, like any sensible Roman artist, Martial was just buttering up the emperor. But even so, PR like this told the world that the inaugural games had been a great success, something that brought the Roman people together. As Martial also wrote, rather overexcitedly, "Rome has been restored to her true glory. And under you, Caesar, the delights that belonged to a master now belong to the people." Titus's 100 days of inaugural games were a huge success and cemented his position in the eyes of the people. His future looked secure. But Titus didn't get to enjoy the rewards of his and his father's achievement for long. Around 18 months after the opening day, he died from a sudden illness. Titus's brother Domitian succeeded him as emperor. Crucially, unlike Titus, Domitian failed to win over the crowd, and in 96 AD he was assassinated. His death marked the end of the second of Rome's imperial dynasties, the Flavians.